What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast Interview. So today, you guys, another epic badass guest on the show. I mean, this guy was a rock star real estate agent, single agent, popping over 100 homes every single year. Got to the point where he was making $1 million a year, only working 4 days a week. Transitioned into coaching and had some other life events that happened. Transitioned out of the real estate business. Then transitions back in the real estate business, but after everything that he learned and all the knowledge base that he had, he decided to jump into the brokerage game and become a broker owner. And man, his business is absolutely on fire, doing over $1 billion a year in gross volume sales, and just continues to grow and expand at a massive rate. This dude brings it. His energy is insane. You're going to absolutely love today's guest. Real quick though, before we jump into the podcast, I want to plug our sponsors that make this show possible. Our first sponsor is REOMasteryUniversity.com. So if you're a real estate agent and you want to go out there and learn how to get to the REO business, how to service the REO business, how to grow and expand your REO business and truly make your real estate business recession-proof, so then it doesn't matter what's happening in the real estate market. The market could be great, the bottom could fall out and have massive amounts of short sales and foreclosures. This program walks you through and shows you exactly how to do that, how to become an REO and short sale expert and kick massive ass. Again, www.REOMasteryUniversity. It's only $997, over 22 training modules inside there. We also break it up into 3 equal monthly payments with no finance fee. So again, REOMasteryUniversity.com. Second sponsor is PerfectStormNow.com. If you're looking for a real estate agent website backed by a badass CRM, right? If you want to go out there and generate massive amounts of leads, right now I'm generating well over 60 Facebook leads every single day, getting full names, phone numbers, emails, and averaging $3 per lead by this system. Then have a badass follow-up protocol. I've personally pre-written all the custom campaigns, drips, tasks, scripts, so you're able to go out there and follow the same 1,000-day follow-up programs that I have to not just be able to generate effective and affordable leads, but be able to follow up and convert those into appointments. So check us out, PerfectStormNow.com. If you register, make sure to use promo code MASTERY, PSN, all caps, all one word, all together. It'll save you the $200 registration fee and allow you to get the program on the month-to-month option for only $199 per month. So again, that's PerfectStormNow.com, and then Mastery PSN is the promo code. Our last sponsor that makes this show possible is my personal mentorship program, my 90-day Mastery Bootcamp. This is a game changer. It's 12 live sessions, weekly live sessions. Average session is 3 to 3.5 hours. Like, we're not screwing around here. This is hardcore. It is in-depth. I'm unpackaging my entire playbook, everything that's helped me sell well over $1 billion in real estate, over 5,000 homes. That's helping myself and my team do over 600 transactions here in 2017, and I give you everything, right? All of our presentations, all of our strategies, all of our drip campaigns, follow-up protocols, everything that we're doing, how I hire, how we grow our team, how we expand, how we grow our culture. There's nothing that's not inside this program. I give you all of my trackers, and I'm not just giving you this materials, right? This is why we also have 36 plus live hours of training. It's me giving you the materials, showing you why they're critical, how to use them effectively, how to implement them inside your business, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You get me as your personal mentor, one of the top real estate agents on planet Earth, to help you become a top real estate agent. And this thing is selling for peanuts, dude, right? So make sure, check us out, 90daymastery.com. If you register, make sure to use promo code LIVEMASTERY, all caps, all one word, all together. That's where you're going to get the biggest discount, biggest savings, Live Mastery. Make sure to check us out. We've got tons of testimonials, tons of 5-star reviews on there. See demos of exactly how the program works, but I promise you, it is a game changer, and I will not let you down. All right, you guys, well, let's jump on into today's podcast with my main man, homie, podcast guest, Danny Morel. All right, we'll see you inside the show. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode Podcast Interview, where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others while they exist. So today, guys, got a really special guest on the show. This guy is on fire, man. When it comes to GSD mode, like this guy's living, eating, breathing it every single day. So our guest today is an author, realtor, brokerage owner. Personally, when he was selling real estate, doing over 150 transactions a year and figuring out how to do that, working only 4 days a week. Yeah, when most agents are grinding, working 7 days a week, selling, less than a home a month. I mean, this dude really dialed it in. Now, today he's expanded, operates an extremely, extremely successful brokerage in Southern California, doing over $1 billion a year in sales. I'm so really stoked and honored to have Danny Morel on the show. My friend.
What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, doing awesome, man. Just stoked to have you on, man. I've been excited for this for a while.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. I think we're like-minded and like energy. So I think the audience is going to have to keep up for a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, man, I mean, you've created, I mean, you've had a lot of success in even pre-real estate ventures that we'll get into as well. But dude, what's insane is you've only been at this real estate game for 6 years?
Yeah, so I've been at the brokerage game for 6 years. I've been in real estate for about 20. Yeah.
Yep. Love it, man. So brokerage game, 6 years, over $1 billion a year in revenue. I mean, in gross volume sales, which is just insane. So, before we get into what you're doing today and all the success that you're creating today, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them to entrepreneurship in the first place. So if we run the clocks, maybe for you that looks like elementary. I don't know, what when this got ignited for you, but how did you lead into entrepreneurship in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember being 16. I think all success and all breakthroughs in life start with frustration and start with people getting upset. And I can vividly remember I was 16, 17 years old. I can even remember being 14, 15 years old, and my mother never had enough money to give me get lunch at school. So I became a salesperson in junior high. Because every day, and I'm not kidding you, it's a little embarrassing now, obviously, but every day I would just work the crowd and get a quarter here, a quarter there, a quarter here, a quarter there, and stack up $2.50, and that's how I buy my cheeseburger for lunch, basically. And so when I went into high school, that kind of kept going, and in high school, that's not too cool anymore,
Yeah.
So I started kind of doing side hustles and things like that just so that I could afford my own lunch money, because God bless my mom, she couldn't do it. She just couldn't afford it. My dad wasn't around, so if it was going to be, it was up to me, And I'll never forget, senior year in high school, I start watching the show Beverly Hills 90210. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, here I am living in the ghetto, living in the hood, living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I remember seeing these, high school kids, same age supposedly, on TV, which, by the way, for me, if it's happening, it's real and it's possible. I don't care if it's on TV. I don't care if it's in the damn movies. If it's possible somewhere or for someone, it's possible for me. And so I remember thinking, and I started seeing the show, and I remember Dylan, right? Dylan was kind of like me. He was like the outcast a little, but heck, he had a nice car. He was going to Beverly Hills. And I would just think to myself, what's stopping me from doing this? And day after graduation, I was laying there in bed. I'll never forget. It was like I had the devil and the angel, right? It was really like the poor guy and the rich guy, right? And the poor guy was telling me, look, play it safe, just be like everybody else, and just go find the job. And the rich voice was saying, no, if you want to be different, then you're going to have to do different. And it was that moment that I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have the answer yet, but if I could tell anything to your audience, you don't need the answer. What you really need is you just need the idea, the concept, and the clarity and what it is that you want to accomplish, and the answer will appear. Well, at that time, what happened was that I was so responsible as a 17, 18-year-old kid that I would take my younger brother, Anthony, who, by the way, you have to have him on the show sometime. He's a freak of nature, this guy. At that time, he was 7 and 8 years old, and I would take him to all the baseball games. My mom wouldn't. My dad wasn't around. I was the parent, basically. And this other parent saw me and said, you know what? You seem real responsible. I'm going to Mexico for 3 months. I will literally leave you my house and my business. I just need you to watch my house and watch my tortilla delivery route, which was the business actually. And all I need you to do, pay me $200 a week and you can keep all the profits of the business. And I said, what? I go, I'm in, you know? So sure enough, that first summer, right after high school, I got into the tortilla delivery business, started making a little money, decided to save that up to buy my mother a house. That was a dream of mine to do it by the time I was 21 years old. Went into a job fair of all places, met a real estate agent, asked him about real estate, asked him the magic question, is there any money in real estate? And he said, yeah. And I go, look, I'm working 6 days a week now. I'm going to school. I'm running this tortilla business. I've got Sundays off. And Josh, I'll never forget, honest to God, I said, I don't even want you to pay me anything. Just teach me. That's all I want. Teach me. And I guess the lesson in that is that I've always been the kind of person that value is more important to me than cost. Yeah. You know, and what I see in most people, cost is not only more important, it's like life or death to them. And they'll take that over value any day. And that's what started the journey. And here we are today.
Yep. 20 years later, now you're here, man. So, all right, so you jump into real estate, and you got this mentor. How long were you still doing the tortilla business, being mentored on Sundays before you transitioned full time? Because I'm guessing at some point either sold or gave up the tortilla business and.
Yeah, I actually sold it for like $1,000 or something like that. And I remember when that happened. You know, back then, the method of this individual that he taught me of how to get business was he taught me to go to the local swap meets. And I would go to the local swap meets. I'd talk to people. I'd do my hustle. I'd get their name, phone numbers, social security. I'm not lying. At 18 years old, all of that. Don't ask me how I convinced them to do that. I did it. And then 4 months later, they would come back to me because at the time I didn't have my license. So I would just hand off the leads to this other guy. Well, he was getting them some sort of shady loans or shady houses or something. They'd come back upset. Rule number two, if rule number one is value over cost, rule number two is always do the right thing. Always do the right thing. Like there was no need for shortcuts. And so that really bothered me. And that moment I decided to get my license. I got my license in 60 days. I see some people, it takes some freaking 5 years. I don't know what they're waiting for. I got it in 60 days and I started selling and I was off and running basically.
Yeah. So at this point, I mean, you have your entrepreneur experience, you know the hustle it takes, and from the other industry, but we're still in an industry where 90% of realtors fail in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. So you give up all this, the cushion that you built over here, you jump full in over here, and you didn't slowly transition, dude. You just jumped off the cliff and were like, I'm going to build a damn parachute. Right. What did you do right out of the gate to ensure that you weren't the statistic that's dropping out in the first 3 years?
Yeah, so it's really important. One of the quotes that I teach people is that it says, you don't need 6 months reserves, you need guts.
Yeah.
And guts are more valuable than reserves. Josh, I've had to recreate myself 3 times, and all 3 times I started businesses with zero money in my pocket. And the typical human being kind of waits to someday maybe have the money and then they'll bet it on themselves. I bet on myself from day one. And look, did I go hungry the first 4 months? Yeah, I did. Did I not know how to find money for gas? Yeah, that happened. But did I end up selling 28 houses my first year in business? Yeah, it happened. And it's just because I left no other option on the table. I was going to succeed, and that's it, period, end of story.
Yep. Love it, man. And I couldn't agree more. It's almost like having those reserves for a lot of people. It allows them to be too comfortable. I don't know about you, but for me, it's like when I've made the biggest leaps and bounds, it's been like, well, my back's against the wall, and if I don't get results, I'm fucked, right? Like,
yeah.
So, but then from there, I'm all about hard work. Mm-hmm. But I don't care how hard you're sprinting. If you're sprinting east chasing the sunset, you're never going to see it. So you had the guts, you had the grit, but you also, I'm sure, had identified what were the right things to focus on? Because 28 deals your first year is almost unheard of.
Right.
How did you identify what to focus your time and energy on? And what did that look like that first year?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Look, man, all I know is that I just know the importance of being able to, on the front end, generate leads, you know? And so I had found a little model that worked for me. It was going to these swap meets, right? And, for you, the listener, it might be getting on the phones, or it might be farming, or it might be calling your center of influence, or it might be door knocking, or it might be hosting open houses. Here's the difference, Josh. The difference is that for 2.5 years, I never missed a Saturday or a Sunday at the damn swap meet. That's the difference. Not one single day, a Saturday or a Sunday for 2.5 years. I went rain or shine. I ran whether I felt like it. I went when people showed up. I went when they didn't show up. It didn't matter to me. And what I see people struggle with today is they'll find an avenue, right? Open houses, phone calling, whatever. But they'll do it one weekend and they don't do it the other. And then they'll do it one day and then they won't do the other. Or worse, they do it and they get a little success and then they stop doing what got them successful. And for me, it just, just all the activity eventually snowballs,
Yeah. No, I love it, dude. I think this is important to point out of, you had a negative experience with the swap meet with your mentor, but you were smart enough not to abandon it. You're like, hey, I'm getting the leads. This is effective. It's this guy's back end funnel getting with shady people. That's the problem. So you didn't see the whole thing as the problem. Like, you just identified where the problem was and figured out how you could be the solution. What was working well and what was working, not working well. And you became that solution.
It's so funny you mentioned that. It's called creating a negative story. Like, we as human beings are so good at something will happen and we'll make a negative story out of it. Like, I could have literally, in that moment where those people came to me, I could have quit the business because I could have thought, oh my God, I didn't know that this was, no, I made it into a challenge. I made it into a positive story. To be quite honest with you, Josh, what really upset me is that it was Hispanic people and Hispanic people that didn't know how to speak English. That's what really upset me. Is I hate that. I hate the abuse of people that can't defend themselves or comprehend themselves, And so I made it a challenge and I said, no, I'm going to do the best job possible for these people. And that became the fuel. And that guy that first taught me, I think he's still at the swap meets, and I've obviously moved on to bigger and better things because I just decided to do things the right way,
Yeah, and I know this next question doesn't necessarily have to do with real estate success, but I think it has everything to do with success. Is, just the terminology used there about your mindset and how you process your thoughts. It's easy, dude. It's what's the saying? Small hinges swing big doors, and you had a problem, but based on your language there, you don't see problems as problems. You're like, hey, this is a challenge. This is an obstacle. Right? Where more people are like, oh, this is a problem. It's so hard, right? You see it as that challenge, that opportunity, and how much of your success do you think having that type of a mindset is attributed to?
Look, man, with what I do today, which we'll get into that later, but my job is no longer, when you really look at it, my job is no longer selling homes. My job really isn't being a real estate broker. My job really isn't, being a coach. My job is to help fix the broken psychology of human beings. That's literally what I do all day long. Is I help people to see a different perspective. Like, we are so good at always finding the damn negative perspective in every single thing that happens. An appointment says no. Oh my God, we create this negative story. I suck. I'm no good at this. Where am I going to get my next check from? I finally go get a listing appointment and they say no. Oh my God, that means I'm not meant for listings. Let me just go stick with buyers. We're just so good at causing negative outcomes out of situations that could be negative or positive, And, I'm going to bring up a touchy subject, even the political landscape right now. If you look at it right now, right, I made a little funny thing on a recent training. I put up a picture of Trump, and I was like, all right, I told the audience, I'm going to piss you guys off. You guys ready? They're like, yeah, we're ready. I put up a picture of Trump. You literally saw everybody's body language just go, just like crunch up, all bad, And the reason why I did that is I said, listen, you can't control that.
Right.
There's nothing you could do about that. Right? And quite honestly, him or the government or nothing is in charge of your life and the family, the lifestyle that you can provide for your family. However, the negative energy and the negative stories that you are investing into what that means to you, that is damaging your ability to create a prosperous life for your family. And that's on you. That's your bad. You can't blame anybody else for that. And so I'm constantly working on that, Josh, because thank God, I think I got this from my mom. She was just always a faith-driven person. I have an ability to always see not only the positive in everything, but to see the future in everything.
Yeah.
And that's what has helped me tremendously.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it, dude. So, all right. So back to your real estate career, man. So you do 20 deals your first year, then, fast forward, you're now doing 150 deals. I know very quickly you were making 1.5 million a year as an agent, but you also figured out how to do it in 4 days a week. So you could also have a life, right? Because dude, I can go out there and bang out 150 deals, but what if I'm working for him to midnight and my life sucks? That's not awesome either. Right. So how did you create that, man? Kind of walk us through how you manage your time and how focused you were to go out there and create an amazing business and lifestyle.
So, Arnold Schwarzenegger, again, some of you might like him, some of you might, who cares? But Arnold Schwarzenegger, no matter what, you got to respect the fact that man came to this country without knowing the language and became not only a superstar, but the governor of the state of California, right? So Arnold Schwarzenegger always says something, and he says the following. He says, the one thing that I would hate in life is to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat that because it's powerful. The one thing that I would hate in life is to be like everybody else. And so, Josh, for me, I went 28, 30, 35 deals in 3 years in a row. And even though in my office, I was the number one guy in the office, when I look around at the big scheme of things, I'm just like everybody else. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm earning right about what middle income in our country is right now, which, for an agent right now doing that kind of business, depending on the area, Arizona, you're probably 150 grand a year. Here in California, maybe you're 225, something like that. And I thought about that, and I was just always really good at being honest with myself. For my dreams and my goals, Danny, that ain't going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. So then I started to dissect and look and think to myself, all right, thinking to the future, what's it going to take? Well, the number one thing was I had to stop working with buyers and I had to become a listing agent. And that was scary for me at the time because at the time I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to close. I'm an expressive by nature, but I always had an amiable side to me. I like people to like me, so forth and so on. And so I didn't like confrontation. I didn't like pulling out a pen and asking somebody for a signature. That was uncomfortable to me. All right, damn it, you got a choice. Be uncomfortable or be rich.
Yep.
I don't know what to say. It's that simple. And I'm saying this because these are the conversations I would have to myself. So then finally, the same way I burned the boats and I jumped headfirst into real estate, I burned the boats, Josh. You're not going to believe me. I burned the boats and I stopped working with buyers.
Yep.
And I just went head on and I started working with sellers. Today, I don't teach anybody to do that. I think that's a terrible idea because I don't think people are aware of how much of a change that is. So I took a little bit of a dip. I don't remember exactly if it was downward or sideways, but then from there it jumped right back up. And now I was in control of my time. I was the listing agent. I had the inventory. I ended up taking 10, 12 listings a month regularly. And then that caused me to not be able to pick up the phone when the sign calls called. So again, I didn't know how. I just thought to myself, I'm going to need some help here. And within 40 days, a friend comes to me and says, hey, I need some help. I want to get into real estate. That was the first one that I ended up developing a little team. We called it the Morel Group. And there was myself and 3 people and one staff person. which was my mom. It was a nice little tight-knit family, and we killed it, man. We absolutely killed it.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, well, and when you made that decision, right? And I know you say you don't teach this today, but 15 years or so ago, when I was taking place, teams weren't a thing. Like when I first even started my team in 2006, like nobody really knew about teams, right? But okay, so then now, dude, you're creating the Morel Group, your real estate team. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll say something about teams, but I think it's very important. Because now we're on the opposite side of things. Back then, nobody knew of or wanted to start one. Now, Josh, everybody and their mother wants to start a team. Look, I'm not saying it's wrong. Just listen to what I said. I was taking 10 to 12 listings a month. That caused the phone to ring. I could no longer handle the volume, so I naturally had to develop a team. See, to me, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So many people nowadays, this, they want to do it because of ego. They want to do it because they want to get the trophy in the office. Don't do it for that. Don't do it for that. Do it for the right reasons. If you're the rainmaker and you're making it rain so much that there's too much falling everywhere, then you go develop the team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. It's one of these things where there's nothing wrong with wanting to start a team, but you only grow it out of necessity, not out of wanting. And yeah, I have agents all the time that are like, "Oh, I did 12 deals last year. I want to start a team." I'm like, "Well, you need to be about 36 to 48. Then have your support staff. Then start hiring agents."
It's so funny. It's so funny that you say that. That's exactly what I say. It's exactly what I say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys like you and I mean, we've been through it. And now the cool thing about you and I is hindsight's always 20/20. Now we can reflect on what we did right, what we did wrong, and now we know how to build these perfect. I don't want to say I hate the word perfect, but we know how to build them the right way because of we did it the wrong way. Right?
I was just about to say, if I was that guy asking me to build a team and I would have said no, I would have said, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. I guess you kind of got to go through it,
Yeah. So you keep building this very successful real estate team, and your teams have become such a big thing because, in the brokerage model, unless you do it right, very few, there's limited, little profit margin, right? So, I mean, because you're creating a successful team, you're making bank, dude, you're killing it. And then you got this decision 6 years ago to go from, real estate team leader to now starting your own brokerage. Like, what transpired this decision?
Okay, you got to take a 4-year climb backwards.
Cool. Yep.
2006, right as you were starting your team, I launched my own coaching company. And when I launched my own coaching company, I'm not kidding you, Josh, we signed up 500 agents in the first year in the coaching company. 0 experience, by the way. But again, the mistake was I burned the boats. I literally said, I'm not selling real estate anymore. That's a mistake. People, if you could learn anything, this is $1 million mistake. Literally. I should have had turned that over to somebody, and I probably would have still been earning a residual income today. And in hindsight, that's fine. Just don't always remember, if you're doing great, what happens to some people is they start earning $200,000 and $300,000 a year selling real estate, and then they want to go do something else, and they forget. I don't care who you are. $200,000 or $300,000 is $200,000 or $300,000 that could be feeding your family and supporting your lifestyle. And so when I did that, I built the coaching company. 2007, 2008, the market falls apart, and people literally start telling me, "Look, we love what you do, but it's either we pay you to coach us or we feed our family." I mean, it was just that bad, Yeah. And so then I kind of left the industry for a while. And then in 2010, when I came back, that's when I thought to myself, I went dead broke, by the way. I mean, dead broke, like dead broke. And when I came back, I thought to myself, what do I want to do? And that's when I had the idea. I thought, what if I did what I did in my coaching company within a real estate brokerage? And I looked around because, quite frankly, the way I built my real estate coaching company was I would go visit 2 offices a day, and I would go talk and, do my thing. And I'm not kidding you, Josh. It would take me a good 10 to 15 minutes just to get people to smile.
Yeah.
Just to get people to interact. It was like talking to zombies. And for me, that's unacceptable. And so, when you see a gap in something, you want to fill that gap, right? That's how great businesses are started, by the way. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I can inspire a lot of people. I can help a lot of people. I can help them make more money. And then as a result, I'll be fine. And that's what started our brokerage, basically, 6.5 years ago.
Love it, man. So, of course, now I got some questions, learning that about you now, right? So the coaching company, right? I mean, those of you that, everybody knows what happened, but those of you that were in the real estate business, especially then, like, in Phoenix, Arizona, we had home values that dropped 80%. Right? We're still today, 2017, we're still 35% below what the peak was in 2005, right? It still hasn't recovered fully. We'll hear low, but we were, very hit very hard. So, okay, but that dissolves because your coaching clients they can't afford,
can't afford it. Yeah.
So what then, like, why not, like, what was going on internally? Like, why not jump back into real estate as a realtor? Like, why did you choose other paths and
I'll tell you why. It's called ego. My ego was too big. And honestly, Josh, I had to go. It's kind of weird, man. I had to go through that. I feel like God kind of had me go through that so that I could become who I am today. Like now I am able to relate to people a little bit better. I'm able to empathize with them a little bit better. I'm able to sympathize with them a little bit better. Back then, think about it, Josh. Just think, 27 years old, when everyone in your family makes 50 or 60K a year and you're doing $1.5 million, you're the only Hispanic in your neighborhood. Like, people used to walk, let's just be real. People used to walk into my wife and I, we lived in basically a mansion in a gated community, and they would knock on our doors and they would say, like, are your parents are here, or what do you like? We were kids. We were young kids living in this huge house, And so, when that happens, as good of a person as you are, that ego was going to kind of get too big, and it got inflated, and I needed it. I needed to get my teeth kicked in, and that's what happened.
So speaking of that, right, and I think that this is, I really want to ask you this question because I think it's critical for our audience to hear, because, I don't know any self-made, very successful entrepreneur that hasn't experienced those low moments. I think we've all, you make it, lose it, remake it, right? It just happens. And those low moments, if you allow it to, become your greatest assets. Like, you wouldn't be the man you are today without those. But when you're at that low moment, when you are going through the hardest of hard times and those hardest experiences of your life, what are your internal thought processes and decision-making? Like what is going on internally that you don't allow yourself to break and then allow yourself to not break and reinvent yourself and keep pushing forward?
No, man, honestly, I broke.
Yeah.
Honestly, it got that bad. I'm wired to always work. Right? I'm wired to always work. The problem is that my efforts and my work weren't producing any income. And so, I kind of kept pushing and I kind of kept pushing. Dude, it got so bad. I was making like $1,800 a month. Considering the fact that I was making 100 and something thousand a month, that's a huge fall from grace. You know what I mean? To be honest, I can't deny it. There were times I wouldn't want to get out of bed. I didn't know, but yet inside of me, I always knew, like, this isn't who you are. This is just a phase you're going through, and you're going to be fine, And one day, Josh, I just woke up and I just got, if in my book I write about it. As a matter of fact, there's a picture here. Hold on. I got to show it. Here you go. This is the day that changed my life forever. So that's my boys. And it was so hot that day that it was like 103 degrees and the air conditioner broke. And I couldn't afford to fix the air conditioner. And it was so hot in the house that my little boys were walking around sweating, poor kids, And I had this guilt because before they were born, I was living the high life, and now they're born. I can't provide for them. So I put them in an ice chest. I filled it with water. And it was such a poignant moment in my life where I took a picture and I go, that's it. And I told my wife, babe, I'm going to go back to selling houses because I know how to do that. I'm not kidding you. I think I closed 30 deals in 6 months. Cold turkey. Like, just, I worked 7.5 days a week though. But you know what I'm saying? But I fought my way out of it. And then at that 6-month mark where we were finally able to, like, afford our own rent, that's when I looked at my wife and I said, babe, what do you think? And then that's when the vision started for the company, basically.
Yeah. So then okay. So you rebound, You know, the first crazy 6 months. And then, like you said, that's where the vision was born for the brokerage. At what point did that vision become alive? Like, how long from there was it like, boom, now we're an official brokerage?
Yeah, man. So that's the other thing. I don't think about anything. I freaking fly. I mean, it's literally one of these things that once I decide, I can't sleep unless I do something about that decision. So I'll never forget, like, we decided, and the very next day I called up north to my friend Gino Blafari. He's the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway now. Back then he was the founder of Intero. I literally told him straight out, the other thing, have confidence in who you are and have confidence in what you're about to become. I picked up the phone, never met him in my life. I said, listen to me right now. I'll be your number one franchisee in less than 36 months. However, my finances are terrible. I just filed bankruptcy and I don't have any money in the bank. If you're okay with that, I'd like to come up there and I'm signing a franchise agreement. There was no let me think about it. I was like, let's get this done. Let's rock and roll. I flew up there, flew back 36 months later. We were the number one franchise as promised. And so, yeah, it happened very fast, Josh, because you got to understand, I had spent about a year and a half in that funk. So by the time I made the decision, I was ready to get back to the lifestyle that I knew I could create for my family, which was a prosperous one, you know?
Yeah. So, of course, I got a lot of questions there, but I have one about your low moment there before. I don't want to forget this, because it's like, okay, you're living in this mansion, you have all of this. Right? One thing that a lot of people, like, I think even more so than losing the money or going through those, is the thought of criticism of like, hey, what are my parents now going to think? Or all my homies that are now like, I'm on this pedestal in their eyes, or what are my in-laws going to think? And, and I'm sure that criticism poured in, and I'm sure you had experienced that. How did you handle that negative criticism?
It's so funny. I'm going to have my wife watch this show because she's going to get a kick out of it. So you gotta understand that when you're like basically, if not the top, one of the top agents in the area, and then you start a coaching company, and then everybody sees you kind of fall from grace. Just let me tell you, everyone and their mother talked shit about me.
Yeah.
Everyone. It was all they did. Because guess what mediocre people have? Plenty of time to talk shit about people. Right? And I just, I had to take it. That's another thing. I don't let people get under my skin. I just let it fuel me. I took it. I said, you know what? They're right. I made a mistake. There's nothing I can do about it. And I'll never forget. It was like my first day. It was like my first day back. Where I was going to start. It was the brokerage. Claudia looks me in the eye. She goes, "Promise me one thing." And she said, and I don't remember exactly how she said it, but I said, "What's that?" She goes, "I want you to go out there and be the best you can be, and I want you to beat the shit out of everyone who ever dared talk crap about you." And I go, "Oh, babe, that's done. That's done." And so, you kind of have to have that little chip on your shoulder where you realize the people that are going to talk, but that's just part of the game because again, most of us humans, we don't get like the ups and downs. Like, instead of talking about somebody, why don't you offer to help? Why don't you offer to, join for, I don't know. There's a lot of other things that you can do versus spew negativity. For me, as the receiver of it, all I did was I fueled it I used it to fuel my passion and the growth of our company.
Yeah, sounds to me like you got just an amazing supportive wife. And, there's a saying out there that behind every great man is even a greater woman.
Yeah.
Now reflecting on all of this, like, what part of your success do you think has been attributed to all that confidence that your wife has in you and having that strong marriage? And like that conversation, dude, I'm sure that lit a fire in your ass probably more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
Because who knows, maybe if it wasn't for your wife, maybe you would have never even rebounded.
Right.
Like how important do you think that is of having that amazing partner?
I'm gonna tell you something. This is not being cheesy at all. This is just being real. I just couldn't be who I am without her. I really do. And listen, man, I'm such a hard driver. I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I don't even recognize that myself, But when people ask me and you're forced to look at it, I'll tell you what, man, I put my wife through some listen, and by the way, I have no shame, because if it encourages somebody or if it helps somebody, then I'm happy, During those low moments, my wife was 9 months pregnant, not at the store. We couldn't afford insurance, so she was at the government line because we couldn't afford to give birth to the baby. She was 8 months pregnant, so we had to go get, the help or whatever it's called just to give birth to the baby. And as she walks out, just picture this. Just picture what I put her through. As she walks out, being pregnant, having to ask for help because we couldn't afford to have the baby, she got her car repossessed. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. And through all of that, my wife did not only even think of leaving me, she was right there by my side the entire time. There are so many superficial people in this world that I'm just blessed, dude. I'm 100% blessed that she was the one right there by my side. She never gave up on me. She never lost faith in me. And now I spoil her, but she's tough to spoil because she doesn't like me. She's just so simple, So yeah, to answer your question, 100%. Without her, I wouldn't be who I am. No.
Yeah, love it, bro. All right, dude. So so you get on the phone with Gino, right? It's like, hey, man, here's what's up. Right? He takes a risk on you. Like he sees something and he takes this risk.
Yeah.
And then you start to explode. Right now, Berkshire Hathaway, brilliant company, amazing company, but there's a lot of Berkshire Hathaway franchisees out there.
Yeah.
That struggle, that don't succeed, that fail, that, right? What do you do from that day that he takes that risk on you to just boom? Like now all this from everything that you've learned.
Right.
What do you start executing on and doing that just creates massive growth?
Okay, so everybody pay attention. This is what you have to do if you expect to explode in anything. You have to be clear with what you want. And so I've always been really, really good at giving myself targets to go hit. If you think back to the beginning of the conversation, Josh, the target was buy my mom a house. So I would go work my butt off to go make that target and make it a reality. And then it was move our family into Rancho Cucamonga. So I moved our family into Rancho Cucamonga. And then my brother was a baseball player. So my brother's baseball team where we were in the school district kind of sucked. And the good school was over on the other side of town. So then it was buy a brand new house so that my brother can go be at the best baseball school. This is all happening at, by the way, 26, 27, very, very young, basically, And so then it became be the number one office in our city. And then it became be the number one office in our area. And then I had promised Gino be the number one franchisee in the company. And so I'm always setting targets like that. And then I just go work my butt off to go reach and achieve the target, basically. So I'm not ever working without a specific target in mind.
Yep.
And I'll say why that's so important. Because the reason why most people are stuck in mediocrity is because they not only have a target, their target is to pay the bills. And so when your target is to pay the bills, and nobody will ever admit this, but subconsciously speaking, you will only earn just a little bit more than what your bills are if your vision and your target isn't much, much bigger than what's going on in your life on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
So that's what did it for me.
So you get clarity, you set those targets. And I agree. It's like, dude, hey man, I'm going to take a road trip. Well, if you don't know exactly where you're going to go, any road's going to, you're not going to, you got to get very clear on that target. And I love that, dude. So, but then, right. So you set this target, but you also have to have strategy, you have to have execution, you have to have all these things. Now you've created a successful real estate business, a successful team, a coaching company. You visit all these offices, what culture you want to create, what you don't want to create, what type of training you want to provide for your agents. Like on a tactical standpoint, what were some of those things that you did and continue to do differently? Because, dude, your growth is, what's it, 400% like year over year? So, it's just insane.
Yeah. It's kind of, we basically went from like our first year we did 150 deals, then we did like 350 deals, then we did like 700 deals, then we jumped into like 1,000 deals, and then like 1,800 deals, and then we jumped into like, 20. I think we went all the way to like 2,800 deals and then like 3,500 deals. And right now this year we'll hit between 3,900 and 4,000 deals, basically.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Jeez Louise, I was very clear with who we were and who we aren't, you know? And this is a day and age where everybody's doing the flat fees and all of this stuff. I was just very clear on the fact that I could change anybody's life. I could help anybody produce more. Listen, Josh, this is how confident I am in who I am and in what we do. There is no real estate agent alive today within a 50-mile radius that can do better on their own than they can do with me here. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't. That's how confident I am in who we are, what we do, and what we provide. And the lesson in that is that that's how confident our listeners have to be. You have to be that confident. You've got to know whether you're a real estate agent or a loan officer or an insurance or whatever you're doing, you've got to know that you are the best. And some of you might say, okay, well, I don't think that. Okay, well, then get to where you can think that. Because that's the golden golden rule right there, is that supreme confidence in yourself opens so many doors and so many possibilities. So I took that confidence and then I just kind of created first thing I did was I wrote out the phrase, who are we? And I just got very clear with who we are as an organization. We're a place of change. We're a place of breakthrough. We're a place of growth. We take people who can't see and we help them to see. And once they start to see, then they start to believe. And once they start to believe, they begin taking inspired action. And once they take inspired action, they open themselves up to living the life that they were destined to live. And every office we open, those words go up. Because that just tells everybody that's who we are. It didn't say we're going to charge you $4.99 a file. It didn't say we're going to, it didn't say any of that. It said very clearly with who we are. The second thing I did was I wrote out who is our ideal agent. And I remember committing to myself, I don't care if they sell 100 deals a year. If they have a big ego and they're not willing to share and help other people, they will never work here. They will never work here. And true enough, like, people have come on board and this just isn't their fit. Because you got to remember, Josh, the thing that inspired me to start the company was when I would go from office to office and I would see everybody dead, asleep, and not smiling. I didn't want that environment. So I know that in order to not have that environment, I couldn't have those kind of people. I needed to have energetic people that at least were open to coming out of their shell and learning and growing and then returning the favor and helping other people. And so it just became very, very clear who we are, what we provide, and who we want to try to attract. And then I just worked hard every single day, like I did as a real estate agent and like I did as a tortilla delivery person. And I went out, and instead of going on the swap meets, I would pick up the phone and I would call agents and I would say, hey, you sold 10 houses this year. How would you like to sell 20? And half of them would say, yeah. Half of them would say, no, that's okay. And I said, no problem. So then the half that would say, yeah, I would meet with them and I'd sign them up and I'd help them get to 20 and then 25 and then 30.
Yep. Yeah, love it, man. So then when you talked about this, when we open up the podcast, and you were talking about your mindset at the time of, most people when they get into a situation or an environment or whatever, it's, what am I going to get out of this? And it's the wrong question. The right question is, whom am I going to become, right, from this, right? Like your first mentorship, it was like, dude, I'll work for free, right? And just because that will create you those millions down the road. It's like Jim Rohn always said, success isn't a doing process, it's a becoming process.
Bingo.
Right? So then with that, like what do you, I can just tell from your energy, I'm just being in your presence, people, there's such a thing as success through osmosis, right? Something's
gonna happen.
Yeah. So then from there though, like what do you do differently to create the success where people can become the best version of themselves? Because anybody can do an open house, right? Yeah. But you can, but if you're the best version of yourself, taking that inspired action compared to forced action you talked about earlier, like what are some of those things that you do to get people to see, as you boarded it?
Yeah. So the first thing we do is we work on the mind. And I am constantly dropping little sayings in their mind, like short-term perspective versus long-term perspective, right? Saying things like perspective is everything. We structure our training around whether it's mindset training or skill set training. So every Sunday night, I'm in front of the company giving them my Sunday evening message. I go live in our group, and they show up, and they're freaking ready, fired up, ready to go, and that kind of catapults everybody into the week. Every single morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm not lying, my phone starts going bing, 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 from everybody waking up, taking a picture of themselves at the gym, posting it. We have this thing called the 4:30 crew. My brother actually started that, and we're not everybody, because not everybody has bought into it, but for the most part, a good portion of us are every single morning checking in, so forth and so on. So all of those things have to do with the mind, right? We create mastermind groups within the company so that they can help each other grow. And then when it comes to skills, every single morning, there's not a day that at 8:30 in the morning, we role play and we practice sales skills. And so that's an example of some of the things that we do. I mean, we've been role playing every day for 6 years. It's just a staple in our company, you know? And look, I'll call agents and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I know about you guys. I don't like that stuff." And I go, "What stuff? The making a lot of money part, or the spending more time with your family part?" Just to piss them off.
Right. Yeah.
Just gotta have fun, right? And no, it's okay. I just don't like that stuff. All the stuff that you guys do. All right, fine, no problem. You're not gonna please everybody, you know.
Yeah. So then with all that, it seems like most brokerages stay small, right? Like most have such a difficult time getting above 50, and very rarely do you hear anybody getting above 100. And it seems like a part of that is to keep that culture alive, right? Because like Danny can only be in so many places with so many people, whatever. So the culture can't be reliant on you, right? The culture and the energy is set, you know, maybe it trickles down from you, but you know, you can't be all places and all times. So how have you been able to leverage this through systems, through other people, to keep that same culture alive, to allow you to expand and create that same experience?
Yeah, it's so funny, Josh, because the name of our year-long coaching program now is called Leverage. And it's the one thing that many people in our industry don't have, because most of the people in the real estate industry, their business is fueled by their personal time and their personal energy. And whether you want to realize it or not, guys, that's not a business. That's just a really high-paying job. A business, right, and you know this, a business is something completely different. A business is something that is running and operating essentially for the most part with or without you, you know? And so I can't say it was lucky. We started getting really, really good here at our home base. And then I started to attract great like-minded leaders that would call me and would say, "Hey man, what's up? I want to open up one of what you're doing here." And I would honestly say no. I say no to everybody. Why? Because I just don't think people could hang with our standards. Because you know this, John, it's tough to do what we do at the level that we do it at the pace that we do it at, you know? So I say people no, because I don't want any hard feelings. I don't want any drama, any of that stuff. And then I kind of make people jump through hoops to show me that they can really be a part of this. And then we open up an office. So the first office was in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And then we opened one up in Downey, California. And then we opened the one up in Corona. And then we opened the one up in Northridge. And then we opened the one up in Oxnard. We have one in Palmdale. And then my buddy Adrian Hernandez, which is another great leader, opened one up in South Orange County. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And it's interesting because our game plan this year changed. It's no longer about opening up offices. We started to realize, you know, we're not at max capacity. Yep. So we're going to get every single office to max capacity. So every single day I'm texting the guys, 2 words: max capacity, max capacity, max capacity. We recruit an average of 1.5 agents a day in our company right now. Yep. It's just we're just freaking, you know, we have a vision, max capacity. You know? Yeah.
And what's so cool with technology and the way things are is people working so virtually, you know, it takes a lot less bricks and mortar than it used to, you know, right? To go out there and hit those capacities. So I love it, man. All right. So I know you're a dude that's clear on what you want to create, you know, you set your time frames. So the vision is to be the number one franchise owner for Berkshire Hathaway. What does that take to be that? And what time frame have you given yourself to make it happen?
You know, it's interesting. No, the vision was to be the number one franchise owner at Intero, which is a brand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Within Berkshire Hathaway. Right now, at this point in time, the vision for the real estate company is max capacity.
Yeah.
That's the vision. And so what does that mean? We could fit another 200 agents or so here in the current space that we have within the 7 offices that we have. And we realistically want to do that by no later than the middle of next year. And so that's the vision for that. My personal long-term vision is to sell out the Staples Center. And I'll tell you what happened with that, Josh. You know, so many people from like across the country, just like for you and your podcast, by the way, you know, they start to reach out to you and they start to say, hey, like, how can I get some of this? How can I get some help? How can I get the training? And I just started to realize that the message and the culture and the teaching of what we do, you know, it shouldn't be confined by a geographic area. And so then that's when I recently opened up Empire University, which is our coaching company, basically. And yeah, that's the vision. That's the new mission. So, and the reason why I did that, Josh, I'm not too sure, because it's no secret. There is very, very small margins in the real estate brokerage business.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not too sure if it's the brightest idea to start opening up brick and mortar offices all across the country when we can leverage technology and for the most part accomplish pretty much the same thing, you know? And so that's the 2 focuses that I have right now: max capacity in the brokerage. And by the way, once we get to max capacity, we'll probably franchise out. We already have our first franchisee, a great guy by the name of Lee Barrison in Bakersfield, California.
Yeah.
And we'll probably continue that course. So yeah, that's it.
Love it, man. Love it, dude. So then with Empire University, is that open to, you know, because we have, you know, over 100,000 downloads a month, 85-90% of our realtors. Is that something that's available to all realtors?
I've got people. It's really freaking awesome. I've got people. My number one producer in the system right now is from Wichita, Kansas. We kind of mess with him because I don't even know where that is, but he does 225 deals a year, and he's loving it because he came from us from another coaching model that was teaching him to essentially he had no leverage. So the name of the program is Leverage. So I helped him to kind of already replace. He used to have 8 direct reports. He now only has 2.
Yep.
And that's like allowed him so much time freedom to be able to now focus a little bit more on the sales, right? Driving that sales team, which drives revenue, which helps the entire company grow. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, open to everybody.
So I know you didn't come on this podcast to plug your coaching program, but you know,
I don't even want to do it because I have respect for you and what you're doing.
Well, but here's the thing: I operate from a place of abundance, and you know, I mean, I always have multiple coaches, and you know, I don't think that there's just one coach for like. I'm not the man that I am from one coach. Yeah. It's having multiple coaches over a decade. You know, right? So you know, I'm all about. You're going to learn something amazing from each different program that you do. So for those that are interested, where's the best place to learn more about it? Check it out. You know, what can they expect? I mean, give a little plug for it, man.
So, you know, I would say for starters, I'm pretty busy on social media. Instagram and Facebook are big for me, and I'm constantly posting free stuff there. You know, I've got a group. Just look up Empire Builders, M.Pyre Builders on Facebook. But our site just went up. It's empireuniversity.com, MPIRE University.com. You know this, Josh, and I'm happy to tell your listeners about this. We have 2 events a year. Relentless happens in kind of like the summer. And last year we had Gary Vaynerchuk. As a matter of fact, let me show you this. Where is it? Is the picture here? Oh, the picture's not here. Oh, here it is. So this was me and Gary Vaynerchuk last year in front of the audience. And this was, again, Josh, this was just a decision. I decided I'm going to throw an event, and it ended up being 1,000 people in the audience. It was pretty freaking awesome. And in January, we're going to host Vision, which is going to be at the Lowe's Coronado Hotel. It's going to be a 2-day retreat. And then in July in Anaheim, I don't want to release the dates yet, but your very own Josh Smith is going to be there with me. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I actually had several of my teammates drive from Phoenix to Relentless last year that were there. And they just loved it, man.
You know what, man? I'm bummed that we didn't know each other back then, because that would have been great. That would have been great.
Nah, yeah, and we'll make sure. I don't know when we release this, so those that are watching this, if the information for Relentless in July will be out, but we'll make sure to have a link in the show notes for the January event, because that's something that all of you probably still have time to get tickets and attend. Also, we'll have a link to the coaching platform, so you guys can check that out, learn more about that. So I know we're going long on time here, man. I could just pick your brain for like 3 days straight, but
by the way, I could pick yours, so I want to have you on my show as well.
Yep, we'll make that happen, man. So your book, dude, with like, how did the book transpire? Was it just like, man, out of this journey, like I got this message that I have to get out there to the world, because there's no money in books, really, right? So it's like, what led to the book, dude?
Yeah, there's not only no money in books. I find out that the best way to market it is to do a free, but you pay shipping and handling.
Yeah.
And the friggin' shipping and handling costs $22, and I'm charging people $7.98. There's no money in books at all whatsoever. But what it does do is it gets your message out. You know, Josh, I just think people have so much more potential. You know. Yep. I really, really do. And I don't know, maybe I'm just blessed to think this way, but I think in unlimited possibilities. And when I see people who are kind of bogged down with limited possibilities, it drives me nuts, man. And I want to do something about it, you know? And so the idea for the book happened 11 years ago, before the market crash. My wife reminds me of that as well. It just, I wasn't in a position to be able to do anything about it then. And so about 2 years ago, I kind of started writing it, and it happened. It's called The Resilience Roadmap, because to go through what I went through, you need resiliency, you know? And it's basically a roadmap to help you through how to develop your entrepreneurial spirit and how to build your business. I mean, literally from scratch, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7. It's doing pretty good.
Yeah, love it, man. So where's the best place? You know, we'll make sure to include a link on that too. I mean, is it Amazon? Where's the best place to go pick up a copy of the book?
Yeah, Amazon. Just type in my name, Danny Morel, and it'll pop up.
Yep, love it, love it. More it goes, guys. Well, I don't care where you're at: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube. We'll have a link there too. So just click on the link; it'll directly take you there. So we'll make it easy on you guys. So again, I know we're getting long on time, but I got a couple last questions for you. Are you okay on time? Is this okay? You got.
Dude, this is what I live for. So like,
good.
Just the fact that we can be here flowing and helping people, like I'll do this all night. I'm happy.
Yeah, badass, bro. So, all right. So, I mean, you've been through and experienced so much. And as we talked about earlier, those low moments are, if we allow them, right, our greatest teachers and become our greatest asset. So I don't say that, when I ask this question, it's not that, you know, you want to be able to change those things, because you wouldn't be the man you are today without them. However, if the Danny today could go back to the Danny of like your 18-year-old self, knowing everything you know now, and give yourself just a couple pieces of advice that you feel would have massively fast forward all of this for you, what would those 2 pieces of advice be?
Yeah, number 1, don't carry debt. That's number 1. I don't own a credit card. I don't even know what that's like anymore. I don't have debt. I mean, even my home, and the story ends up being a lot better. I built a new custom home exactly the way we wanted. I owe less than 50% on it. My rental portfolio, I owe less than 30% on that. We don't have debt. Don't carry debt, because that essentially was the thing that forced me into my last situation. It's not so much overspending, even though that's a problem. It's debt. Like when you're paying out so much in interest to other people, like for that, guys, I highly recommend, if you've never taken it, Dave Ramsey's class, Financial Peace University. Yeah. Have you ever taken that, Josh?
Yep.
It's a life changer, and take it with your spouse if you can. And if you don't have a spouse, it's going to make you a better spouse someday. But honestly, take it. And that experience of cutting up the credit cards, again, it's like it forces you to deal with it. And to this day, we don't own any. We just don't have any.
Yep. Yeah, love it. Yeah, I had well, it's still a mentor of mine, and he's a massive player, right? I mean, this dude makes about $60 million a month, and by the time he was 30, he had sold his sixth company, and the highest valuation he got was over 200 million, and I mean, the dude's insane. And said to me at one point, he goes, "Josh, you know the difference between you and I?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "You're trying to prove to the world that you're rich. I'm actually rich." Right? It's just like that dagger, right? But the whole saying that the student or the teacher appears when the student is ready. Right, I was ready to hear the message. And then he goes, I'm like, all right, so then what do I need to do to go out there and create true wealth like you've created? And he's like, learn to operate and live off of 10% of your income. Right. So then you can invest the other. He goes, that's how you create true wealth. And it took forever to get there. Right. But, just like you, man, I mean, expenses are so, I have teammates that live way more extravagant than I do, but that's what continues creating these other opportunities, man. So
it's so funny. Sometimes I think about it. My monthly nut today is a third of what my monthly nut was when I was a real estate agent. And I make more today, but yeah. And listen, I still enjoy great things. I mean, I buy custom suits. I drive a nice automobile. I live in a nice home, but I just don't overdo it. I stay within my means,
Yep. Love it, man. So then, so when it comes to that though, right? When it comes to debt and what you're talking about, and you and I are talking about, I know that a big challenge, like you said earlier, it's like control your mind and you control the world, or there's something like that, right? Like if you control your own self-discipline. And a lot of people struggle with that because they get caught up in this keeping up with the Joneses, and then they feel this pressure of, whatever these external circumstances are. Like how, when you were rebuilding this, because now you have all this money coming in, and we get these stories happening in our head of, oh, I deserve this, or my wife deserves this, or how do you control that and not give in to those emotions that we all have and make sure that you're not playing the keeping up with the Joneses game?
Yeah, that's great. I don't think I ever played the kept up with the Joneses game. I played the, hey, everybody, look at me, I'm no longer poor anymore game. Maybe like you, I don't know. And so I played that game, and that game got me in trouble. It's kind of interesting. I'm a big house guy, and so for me, having my home the way I like to have it and be able to kick up my feet and experience that, I don't know, that changed me. It was so funny. Like I used to drive an S-Class Mercedes. I'm going to put it in actual practicality for the listeners now. And because that's a big status car, it's a big car. And for the most part, I don't know, I don't have an issue with that. It's a write-off. The company just pays for it. I don't even feel it. No big deal. Right. Well, something happened, and then all of a sudden, I just became like, I just don't need that anymore, And so now it's still a nice car, but I drive a Tesla. It's much smaller. It's economically more viable. I don't have to spend money on gas. I plug it in every day, and that's just a little example of that, However, I'll tell you a little splurge. My wife, who's been through it all with me, I bought her a Rolex the other day, and I bought it for her, not when I wanted to buy it for her. I wanted to buy it for her a year previous, and I decided to wait and just make sure that I took my time and thought things through. I didn't put it on layaway, you know what I'm saying? I didn't make payments. I bought it once I felt, hey, you know what? It's deserving and it's time. And that was, to me, a nice gesture for her, for everything that she's been through with me. Not only it's a great investment because they go up in value, but how do you keep that voice at bay? I think everybody is wired differently, man. I remember sitting next to Gary and Gary Vaynerchuk. We were having the podcast. You can tell the guy lives off of crumbs, and he makes a boatload of money. And he starts saying, his principles and so forth and so on. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm wired that way. Like, I like to have a great meal. I like to wear nice clothing. I'm just not over the top. So I would just say everybody has to find what works for them, and just remember to have limitations and boundaries on everything that you do. I think that's my best answer.
Yeah. Yep. Love it, man. So, good enough so often becomes the worst enemy of greatness, right? Like when you were broke, like you had this driving force because it's like, look, man, I got this baby, whatever, like I got to make money.
Right.
Now you're at a point, dude, where like you could probably just say, screw it, I'll let the company run itself. I got, my investments, and my life will be good for the rest of my life, even if I just chill.
Right.
What keeps you, now that you're at that state where you could easily just go good enough and still live an insane life, what keeps you striving for greatness and not giving in to good enough?
Yeah, it's that saying, the one thing I would hate in life is to be like everybody else. You see, even winning is so important to me, Josh. Winning is so important to me. And winning to me might mean different than what it might mean to everybody else. Winning to me means winning at my goals, my desires, my achievements. And I'm not even a quarter of the way there yet. There's so much more that I want to accomplish in life, so much more that I want the company to become. I'm not going to lie. There are ebbs and flows in this, right? Because things are good. I mean, we've built an incredible machine here. And, you'll go through periods where you aren't pushing as hard as you need to push. And then, thank God, you wake up to the fact that you haven't arrived yet. I just did a message this morning for the agents in our company, and the title was, Have You Arrived? Because I can look back and I can remember 6 years ago, some of our key guys, they were here every morning for role play. Now, to get them here, it's like pulling teeth to get them here. Why? It's because mentally speaking, they think they've arrived. And sometimes you just got to be reminded, like, whatever you think you're doing, however good you think you're doing, there's a guy making $60 million a month, like your buddy, that's selling companies for $200 billion. Guess what? You're not that important, and that's, I think, what helps me is I try to remember myself all the time that ultimately I'm not that big of a deal. I haven't made it yet. I'm not at the level that I want to be at. I mean, and the other thing is, Josh, I have very big goals. I mean, I want to eventually, like I'm sure I want to be as big as Tony Robbins someday. I want to be bigger than Gary Vaynerchuk right now. I'm extremely competitive, and I want to get there because I have confidence in the message that we're providing, And so I think that's what it is, man. You got to always the end game needs to be so far stretched that it keeps you pushing and working to achieve it, basically.
So with that being said, man, I mean, how intentional are you? Because it said that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with, right? And it's very easy. Like if you're the most successful cat in your circle, right? It's easy to lose sight of that. Hey, I haven't arrived yet. How intentional are you about those that you spend time with and reaching up for people that challenge you at to those new levels?
I mean, that's why I keep Gino as such a close friend. Because here's a guy who's, the CEO of the second largest real estate brand in the country, basically. And not only is he a phone call away, but he's a friend of mine, That's why I'm glad that you and I are meeting, because now I think we're going to be able to create some synergy together. And to be quite frank with you, that's why I cut the check to get Gary Vaynerchuk out. That's why do I want to put on great events? Yes, I do. But I also want to meet great people, because I want to be, even if we don't become buddies, even if we never see each other again, I just want someone to come in my presence for a second and show me, hey, man, you're not even close yet. You haven't made it. Keep working. And even if they walk away, that will impact me, Yeah. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
All right. So last question, because I know we're going long and I want to respect your time. I meet more successful self-made entrepreneurs, successful bank accounts, but they're miserable, right? Like so often it's like, hey, I'm going to climb this mountain, right? But then you can get to the top of the mountain and realize, man, the view sucks, right? So the real key for fulfillment, right, is every step of the way, learning to enjoy every step and finding that joy and that fulfillment each step. So even if you get to the top and it's not what you thought it was still a successful, fulfilled process. Because I can just tell, I mean, your energy's insane. You can tell that you just love life, dude. How do you find, I'm not a fan of the word balance, but how do you find that balance where it's like you stay so driven, never satisfied, but you also enjoy life and don't become just a fucking miserable grump?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't work Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And by the way, and I tell this to all of our agents at our company too. Don't get mad at me because I'm the broker, because I didn't work Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays when I was an agent either. I was always very, very intentional on having my cake and eating it too. I was always very, very intentional on working hard on the days that I worked, so that like tomorrow I can jump in the pool with my boys. We can watch TV outside in our outdoor living room. We can do whatever we want, and we can just enjoy it. And sometimes that's just staying home and enjoying this beautiful property that we've created that we feel blessed to have, you know? And yet at the same time, I have my son who goes on acting classes. And if he has an audition, I will drop everything and I will take him to the audition if my wife can. Or I will take him on Sundays. Right now, every Sunday, we're driving to Los Angeles for that. I don't believe in balance. I believe in values.
Yeah.
I believe that the values that you hold dear to yourself are what's going to drive the actions that you have. So a value for me is being successful, yes, but not at the sake of my family. You know what I'm saying? I think that's very, very, very important. The value is not money. The value is winning. And when winning is the value, someone with money with a shitty family life is not a winner, that's a loser. Make sense?
Yep.
So I think that's the name of the game, is that you really have to check yourself and really understand what your true values are. And to me, my number one value is to be the greatest man that I can be with the gifts and talents that God has blessed me with, and then to help other people do the same thing. And the only way that I can make an impact on other people is to live a life that is an impactful life, is to live a life that always remembers the importance of family and friends. And it isn't the easiest thing to do, but I will tell you, I'm proud of the fact that I do a pretty damn good job at it, basically.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, you know, people always have these big goals. Not everybody, but a lot of people. But then they don't take it to the other standpoint and get clarity of what they're willing and not willing to sacrifice.
Yeah, there you go.
Big goals don't come without big sacrifice. And I think we're very congruent in this. It's like, hey, yeah, I mean, I have a financial goal of becoming a liquid billionaire before I leave this planet, right? Yeah. But I also know that, hey, I'll do it.
There you go, because that's my goal too.
Yeah, is it awesome, bro? Yeah.
Well, you know, I'll tell you my thought. My thing is this. My thing is, I'm not going to let someone that swings a bat or shoots a ball through a hoop out-earn me, because I feel like the value I'm going to bring to this world is greater than that. That's my challenge. That's my challenge. So we'll keep each other accountable to that.
Yeah, love it, dude. Yeah, and then that clarity of sacrifice. It's like, okay, hey, I'm not willing to sacrifice my health, not willing to sacrifice my relationship with my wife, not willing to sacrifice my relationship with my kids. Outside of that, I'll do whatever it takes, right? But you got to get clear on that, man. So I love that you brought that up.
Josh, I will say something else. Outside of that, I'm a barracuda.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is, outside of my wife, my kid, if you're not in my wife, my kids, my brother, and my core circle of friends, and there's like 4 of them, I will cut. I have no heart, because you see, people have a hard, it's so funny. People have a hard time with this. I don't see how they have a hard time with this, because having a negative influence in your life, essentially what that does to you is that limits your capacity to provide a great life for your family. So literally letting a negative influence, a negative human being be a part of my circle affects my income, affects my growth, affects my mindset, affects my possibilities. And I will not let that happen. And I'm pretty blunt about that.
Yeah, love it, man. I think the only thing I forgot to ask you, because we have so many realtors that watch this show, if somebody's in your area and they do I don't know, anybody that's watched this can't just fall in love with your energy and your passion, and maybe they want to join your brokerage or talk to you about their career and how you can take them to that next level, where's the best place to go to do that?
Just message me. Social media right now is the best place. Instagram or Facebook. Just look up Danny Morel. Shoot me a message. I respond to everybody pretty fast. I see, that's a value of mine. I don't want to be that guy. I want to get back to people and the best that I can. Now, I may be pretty blunt with you when I get back to you. If you ask me a stupid question, I might let you know. You know what I'm saying? But I always get back to everybody. Yeah.
Yep. Love it, love it, love it. So those that are watching and listening, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is the start of delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking massive action that creates the power for you to go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Danny shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys. They take something that you learn, take immediate action on it. So again, you can create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Danny, This has been a hell of a time, man. I know how busy you are, and this has been a huge honor to have you take time out of your day to be here, dude.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to getting to know you a lot better and challenging each other for more growth, okay?
Yeah, we will make it happen, man. All right, you guys. Well, thank you again, and we will see you next time.